Hey guys, I'm Tanner with 100 Huntley US, and we are at the K-Love Awards. I'm here with Scott Stapp, lead singer from Creed, who has recently ventured out onto a solo career as a Christian artist. You just did an album. You recently released your Proof of Life album, and it's kind of like a musical history or biography. And tell me a little bit about that. You talk about turning this mess of your life into a message.
Yeah. You know, it was an exciting time for me, but at times a difficult time, you know, kind of coming to the end of a journey and processing and gaining clarity with that and really realizing all that I had learned and everything that had changed. And, you know, that started with my book, Sinner's Creed, and then now continued with Proof of Life, which is kind of, I guess, the soundtrack for the book.
Well, tell me a little bit about your time with Creed, and I know you struggled with addiction, and then you kind of rediscovered your faith throughout it all. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, you know, it was a time where I was chasing my dreams, and you know, I became a Christian when I was 8 years old, and you know, began that relationship with God and just went out into life and you know, had the success with Creed and was a Christian during those times and continued to share that journey in my music, even with Creed. You know, the other guys were not believers, and you know, we're shocked and upset when we began to get those questions of if we were a Christian band, and you know, I found and felt that had I been as vocal at times as I wanted to be, number one, the doors would have gotten closed on us, and number two, I just knew that there were things in my life that I felt were preventing me from really coming out and sharing my faith. You know, I didn't feel worthy. I didn't want to pretend to be something that wasn't authentic. You know, I knew that I was living in sin in a lot of areas of my life. And so, you know, the transition now into the Christian community is a reflection of where I am in my personal life as well. Kind of coming out of that darkness and into the light, and how that's affected my songwriting and my music is really nothing dramatically different, except the places that I am and the perspective that I am, you know, having resolved that conflict and crisis in my faith. But in terms of the agenda of the music, it's still a natural expression, you know, and you know, it's interesting to hear you say, you know, into the Christian community, and you know, of course I am now being played, but I've always felt that despite where I was in my walk, that I was a Christian, and still sharing about that in the songs. But now I think, you know, the foundation has changed in order to keep me grounded and have the support around me to continue to do what I do as an artist and take it to a new level. You know?
On your Proof of Life album, your song "Hit Me More" is kind of, you know, the story about you jumping off of a 10-story building. Was that kind of the straw that broke the camel's back that said, you know, you've got to change your life, you've got to get out of this situation that you're in? You know, tell me about that.
It was definitely the beginning of a breaking, literally and figuratively.
I'd say so.
You know, you know, I didn't jump. I fell. To make a long story short, I was trying to go from one floor of the hotel to another, and not in my right state of mind, in even considering doing that, and slipped, and you know, broke my hip and you know, fractured my skull, and really laid there, and should have died, I believe, wrestling with God. You know, what was going on in my spirit had manifested in the reality of that moment. And it was the beginning of a breaking point. It was a time in my life where I really felt that, God just intervened and said, be still, be still. And during that process, when you can't move, you can't walk, and you're sitting and laying all day long, in a bed or on a couch, you got a lot of time.
A lot of time to think.
And hear and listen. And it was the beginning of a humbling process.
And you're getting ready to go back out on tour.
Yeah.
Are you excited about that? Are you nervous about that?
I'm very excited. It's a new time in my life. I feel that Proof of Life represents the ending of a period in my life and the beginning of a new chapter. And so it's exciting. And it's a fresh perspective and it's new purpose. Things that I felt such guilt and shame and embarrassment for. It's so amazing how God has repurposed that and allowed me to be able to articulate through my music and in my life what He was doing in my life. And so it's exciting. And the fans that are there are just amazing. And the guys I'm playing with are great. And so it's an awesome time.
Well, Scott, I appreciate you taking this time.
Thank
and
you.
we will be looking out for you on tour,
Yeah.
and good luck